you say the wrong name, or trip in front of a crowded room, or realize halfway through a sentence that everyone already knows the thing you are about to reveal, and your face gives you away before you've even decided how you feel about it. Heat rises, color spreads across your cheeks. Everyone can see it, and there is absolutely nothing you can do to stop it. The easy assumption is that this is just an embarrassing malfunction, an overreaction wired in by accident, something evolution simply forgot to fix. Charles Darwin didn't see it that way, and he thought about this specific reaction more carefully than almost anyone before him. He wrote extensively about blushing, calling it the most peculiar and most human of all expressions. He looked for anything comparable elsewhere in the animal kingdom and found nothing that matched it. Whatever this is, it isn't a leftover glitch shared with other species. As far as Darwin could tell, it's something close to uniquely yours. That observation led him straight into a genuine puzzle, one he wrestled with directly. If blushing exposes your embarrassment against your will, if it broadcasts exactly the thing you'd most like to hide in that moment, why didn't natural selection get rid of it? Evolution is supposed to be ruthless about eliminating traits that work against you, and having your face involuntarily announce your guilt or discomfort to everyone around you sounds like precisely the kind of trait that should have disappeared a long time ago. Darwin noticed the contradiction. He didn't have a complete answer for it. It's worth sitting with how strange that contradiction really is. Almost every other visible signal you send other people, you have at least some control over. Your tone of voice, your facial expression, the words you choose. You can soften a lie, mask irritation, perform calm you don't feel. Blushing sits completely outside that toolkit. It happens whether or not you want it to, whether or not it helps you in the moment, which made it look to Darwin like exactly the kind of costly, self-defeating trait natural selection should have quietly deleted generations ago. Modern research has taken a serious run at solving that puzzle, and the answer it lands on is almost the reverse of what you'd expect. The blush's power comes specifically from the fact that you cannot control it. In small, tightly interdependent ancestral groups, where your reputation was directly tied to your survival, and where damaged relationships had to be repaired rather than simply walked away from, an honest signal of genuine remorse would have been enormously valuable, not just to the person blushing, but to everyone deciding whether to forgive them and keep cooperating with them. A blush can't be faked convincingly. That's exactly what makes it worth trusting. There's real evidence backing that idea up directly. Studies have found that when people visibly blush after a mistake or a social misstep, they're judged more favorably by the people who witness it than someone who commits the same mistake and shows no visible reaction at all. The blush appears to function as a form of non-verbal communication. It signals, without a single word needing to be spoken, that you recognize what just happened, that you understand it violated some kind of social expectation, and that you regret it. Observers respond to that signal by extending more forgiveness, not less. The thing that feels like it's making you look worse in the moment may actually be making people trust and forgive you more. Picture two people making the exact same clumsy mistake in front of the same group. One holds a completely neutral expression, unbothered. The other visibly reddens, clearly rattled. Most people watching both come away trusting the second person more, not less. Not because the mistake itself was smaller, but because the reaction told them something the blank face couldn't. That the person understood what they'd done and actually cared about the impact of it. Here's what's physically happening underneath all of that. Embarrassment triggers a release of adrenaline, and adrenaline causes blood vessels in your face, specifically, to dilate, improving blood flow and oxygen delivery to that area in a way that shows up as visible color. It's a fast, automatic, whole-body stress response, just localized somewhere everyone else can see it happening in real time, which is precisely what makes it function as a signal instead of staying a private, invisible reaction the way most stress responses do. Now, the honest complication, because this isn't a fully settled case the way it might sound. Researchers still debate exactly which specific social pressures in ancestral life most strongly favored blushing as a trait, versus the possibility that it's partly a byproduct of a more general adrenaline response that simply happened to be visible on human skin and then got repurposed by social evolution afterward. Both explanations can be true at once, to different degrees, and untangling exactly how much credit belongs to direct selection for the signal itself versus incidental visibility is still an open question, not a fully resolved one. What's much less in dispute is what blushing does once it's happening. The forgiveness and trust effects on observers are well documented, even if the deepest evolutionary why behind it remains only partly settled. Think about how differently that reframes something you've probably spent your whole life being a little embarrassed about. You've likely tried to will yourself not to blush in some important moment. A job interview, a first date, a mistake made in front of people whose opinion mattered to you, and failed completely, because the entire mechanism depends on you not being able to fake or suppress it convincingly. That failure isn't a character flaw. It's the trait working exactly as designed. A blush you could switch on and off at will wouldn't be trustworthy to anyone. It would just be another performance, and performances are exactly what this signal exists to be distinguished from. There's something almost generous about a trait built this way. It costs you something in the moment, visible discomfort, a loss of composure you can't hide, in exchange for something valuable afterward, other people's willingness to believe you actually mean it when you show you're sorry. Compare that to an apology with words alone, which costs the speaker nothing and can be delivered with total sincerity or none at all, indistinguishable from the outside. A blush doesn't give you that option. It's expensive to produce and impossible to fake convincingly, and those two qualities together are exactly what make it worth believing. That's also, in a strange way, what makes blushing such a specifically social trait rather than just a general fear or stress response. You don't blush in genuine physical danger, the way you might sweat or have your heart race. You blush specifically in front of other people when their opinion of you is on the line. The audience isn't incidental to the reaction. It's the entire point of it. So here's the best current answer. Blushing is very likely an honest, involuntary signal of embarrassment or remorse that evolved specifically because it can't be faked. The same uncontrollable quality that makes it humiliating in the moment is what makes it trustworthy to the people watching it happen. Darwin's original puzzle, why something so exposing would survive natural selection, is resolved by recognizing that its very uncontrollability is the feature, not a design flaw. What remains genuinely open is exactly how much of blushing's origin comes from direct selection for this specific social signal, versus it being a visible byproduct of a broader stress response that only later took on social meaning. Here's a question for the comments. Has blushing ever actually helped you socially? Or has it only ever felt like something to be embarrassed about? Next time, we're looking at the flip side of an honest, visible reaction like this one. When did humans first learn to hide something on purpose and keep a secret?